It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I can just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though.
Sorry,
I blew up over that.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. You're in the Sonic Campfire.
There it is.
I'm Steve.
I'm Brian.
I'm Catfish.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And I will.
Hey, Will. It's funny you say that in that seat. Wait,
Yeah.
did I hear a Brian?
Yeah.
I think he's pronouncing it wrong. It's Brian.
Well, I'm in Pennsylvania now, so it's Brian.
Oh,
It's Brian in Maryland.
Mr. Pikarowski, as they say.
Yes, it is.
I still feel bad about that, about calling you
my whole
Pikarowski
life,
for
my last name has been mispronounced, so
Yeah.
I'm used to it.
Mine too. They call me Frey.
Really?
Yeah.
Catfish Frey.
Yeah, Catfish Frey. Yeah,
That's terrible.
that's horrible.
So tonight on the line, we've got our friend from long back.
We got history.
We
Way
got
back.
history with this guy, yeah. We have Mike Miller from 8-3 Media on the line with us tonight. Mike, how's it going, bud?
What's going on, Mike?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Don't sound so excited to talk
What's
to
up, bud? You tired?
No, I'm cutting up deer meat right now.
You have a busy
Is
week?
that right?
I bet.
Yep. I got a lot of it to cut up right now.
Well, Stevie, what do we do here? Do we find out where all this deer meat came from, or do we get to know a little bit about Mike? What do we do?
I think we keep
you lead
people in
this thing.
suspense
Okay.
for a while, and I say we get to know
About the
Mike
deer?
about the deer.
That's more interesting anyhow.
and let's get to know Mike Miller a little bit.
Mikey.
Yes.
Can we call you Mikey?
I think we'll allow that.
You will allow it.
He's got a lot of
I've definitely been called
nicknames.
worse.
That's true.
It depends on what podcast he calls into.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
But, we know Mikey from, you were an independent, up-and-coming, video producer, video.
I don't think
Videographer.
it did a very good job introducing, like teeing him up, because he is an amazing. Not only we'll get to hunting and his skills there, but Mike is an amazing photographer, videographer, well experienced, beyond anything.
But when
that
we met him,
can-
he was up and coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this is true. This is true. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
That's cool.
That's a nice way of telling everybody that I wasn't that good when I met you, right?
Nobody starts off awesome, Mike.
He was better than
Kyle.
except for Kyle.
He was born awesome.
Yeah, that dude can video anything.
Mike, I've seen a lot of your pictures and a lot of video work. They're not incorrect by saying that your pictures are phenomenal, bud. You're
Thank you. I appreciate that.
ridiculously talented with a camera lens.
Where did all that come from, Mike?
So I pretty much just had a little bit of experience when I was younger. My mother did senior pictures and stuff when I was just coming up through high school, but that was really about it. Then after that, I kind of got my own cameras and played around with it. Nothing serious, filmed my dad and my little brother on some hunts. And then I actually went to the Campbell Cameras film schools back when they were still around. And
I remember all those commercials.
Yeah,
it sort of just spiraled from there.
You actually ended up going to some one of their competitions, right?
Yeah. Yep. I was actually working with the guys from the Bearded Buck at that point. Jerry and I had went to the Campbell's Camera Challenge in Illinois, and we ended up winning it.
No kidding.
That's actually about when I started working full-time for the Bearded Buck, and worked up there for 2 years. Decided to do some stuff on my own. Sort of got a little bit away from the filming hunting from that point, and I've just been doing a lot of weddings and family photography and that sort of thing right now.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about that competition? Like, so you signed up for this with very little experience and then just kind of took it all home.
Yeah. I had never even seen a 120-inch buck in the woods at this point. And we get out there, and that was the minimum that we were allowed to shoot. And we actually had a big buck come in on us. And this was really my first serious time filming a bow hunt.
Yeah.
And we had a buck come in. It was roughly 125 inch 8-point. And I was shaking in the tree so hard that all the leaves pretty much fell out of it. And the deer ran away faster than it came in. So we ended up not even shooting a buck in that competition. It was more about the different mini competitions as far as different filming aspects. That's what ended up winning it for us. We shot a turkey and a doe, but we were able to get enough points from that and the mini challenges like the time lapse and the aerial photography and those different challenges that gained us some more points. So
I think that says a lot too, like the inner creativity that you're born with. Like most great photographers, most great people that write music, whatever, most great artists, they're born with something inside of them that people can't explain, that like, oh, I'm going to get this angle or look at that lighting. They can see it differently than other people. And
you can't teach it.
No. And it's you kind
something in his nature,
kind of born with it,
Yeah. And that was one of our biggest things that we wanted to try to do whenever we started the show, actually, was try to be different. I mean, I feel like everybody says that when they do something, they want to be different, but it's even more important now because it's so easy for anybody to go out and buy a camera and basically film a TV show. Yeah. So it's even tougher now than it was 10, 15 years ago to get something started like that. So yeah, that's what we had, a lot of good guys with cameras. So that was one big thing that helped us out, I believe.
That's always something that really impressed me about really early hunting and fishing videos, like taking it clean back to like Bill Dance fishing days where they had, VHS cassette type, 14 batteries with them that lasted 20 minutes. The camera was 18 pounds on your shoulder, and how many cameras that guy ruined by dropping them in the lake, and like to be able to edit that by splicing film together.
Oh man.
So I mean, my point is like, so you almost had some of that type of background as far as creativity to clean back from your mom, like back 35 millimeter days. So I think it helped. I think it helps a lot when you have an old school background of creativity, to try to push you forward like that.
Yeah. I mean, you really had to know how to run your camera back then because you didn't have a 64 gig memory card back then. You had, 20 pictures and you had to pay to get them developed. So,
right.
Yeah. Did you use 35 millimeter in this competition?
No, we decided to stick with the SD cards for that one.
There you go. That's a ticket right there, I'll tell you.
Stevie's been saying that for years.
Stick with Stevie.
And Mike, where were you hunting? Was everybody had the same playing field, or were you all in different parts of the country?
No, we were actually all at the Campbell's Camera's location in Illinois. Campbell's also has an outfitting service, so Campbell, Illinois Whitetails. So we were right there with with them and their guides and everything.
Yeah, so
and,
everybody had pretty much the same topography and the same backdrop
Same
to work
chess,
with.
Same
yeah.
chessboard.
Yeah.
Yep. We were all within, 20 miles of each other, pretty much.
That place sounds hideous.
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
So by the way,
wasn't the greatest. It was pretty warm when we were there, but we were actually the only team that saw a buck that was big enough to shoot. But
So was that kind of your springboard? That competition was kind of your springboard to filming with the bearded buck then?
actually, the class I took before that was actually held at Jerry's place.
Okay.
So that's where I met the guys. And at that time, I had bought a video camera and was filming some weddings. And I thought, well, if I have this fancy camera, then I'm going to learn how to use it right. And I just saw it was only an hour from me is where the camera class was. So it made sense for me to go. And that's where I met Jerry and the guys. And actually, Tom Petrie was was working for Campbell's at the time. He's the one that held the class. So I met all those guys then.
So since then, it might be hard to differentiate. People ask, some questions like, do you like hunting or fishing better? Do you like actually videoing things better?
That's a
or
good question.
do you
I love
like
that
to
question.
still photography better? You have to answer one or the other. I put you on the spot.
Well, right now, I would say I'm more into the still photography.
Mm-hmm.
But I started out videoing everything. I was videoing weddings. I was videoing hunts.
So when you go out into the woods, do you have a weapon, a rifle, a bow, or do you take your camera?
I kind of put the cameras down this year and just tried to figure out how to kill a buck, completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to put some meat in the freezer.
I haven't killed a buck since 2011.
Oh, are you trying to tee up this week? It sounds like.
I was going to say.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was kind of my goal this year was I just wanted to try to get a nice buck.
Yeah. No, Will has said it before. In our back catalog, I think Will said at some point, he said he was surprised at how many pictures I don't post. And there are lots of times where I'm out and people don't realize because I don't feel like taking pictures. I just want to be out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need a season like that, Mike. So I'm actually happy that you did it. And your season seems like it worked out for the better for that. So,
yeah. I still do feel like I'm missing something when I'm out there and I'm not worrying about getting it on film when I have a turkey coming in or a couple of the deer I got. But I just didn't make it my main focus this year.
Mike, I hate to jump back a little bit, but can you tell us how important that film school was? And and that it's a little bit of an investment, right?
Yeah.
To do that. So and was it something that you could pick up on YouTube, or did it springboard you? I
mean, you can YouTube anything now in this day and age, but I mean, not only it was nice to have Tom there to actually show you hands-on, and there's a lot to it that you just can't get from YouTube. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a terrible teacher. You probably all know that. I've tried to teach Will a few things, and he probably just thinks I'm an idiot when I'm blabbing on to him. But
well, I mean, to be fair, Will's a terrible student.
But
I wasn't going that direction.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I would say that the people that I met at the class were as important as the stuff I learned at the class. But I will say that once I met those guys, and then the path that my career went from that point, I was able to learn a lot from the guys that, had been doing it. And I've met a ton of different cameramen over the years, last couple of years now, and all of them do it completely different than the next guy. So sort of like anything else, you just kind of pick up your own ways of doing things, you know, and make your own method.
I think it's funny. I'm thinking back, and Mikey and I have another friend, another mutual acquaintance, and we were working on another project, and this guy's like, "You got to get a hold of Mike Miller," and I'm like, you know, cool. I'll try to figure out who this guy is and reach out to him, and it was at like almost the same exact time where, like, you know, Mikey Miller's this, you know, he's the guy in the area, and but now he's not available, you know. So it was funny to watch, you know. Like, I just talked to him on social media a handful of times.
I think really one of the toughest things for Mike, and bear with me here, Mike. I think one of the toughest things for you, as far as maybe the people in the world that would want to take you with them to video their hunt or hire you to do something, maybe sometimes the hardest thing to find Mike Miller is the fact that he is so quiet and humble. I mean, he doesn't make himself a shining star that he is.
Yeah.
That, you know, and that makes it tough to find true talent like that whenever, you know, Mike's not a bragful person.
No.
You know, he's very, you know, does that make sense at all?
100%. Like, it's almost stupid for me to be able to reach out to him and ask him the questions that I have, or video issues, or, you know, whatever. And he's just so, yeah, what's going on? What can I do?
Super approachable, right?
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, I think maybe it's the upbringing and where it came from.
It is.
Yeah. We're all kind of cut from the same mold. He's grew up not too far away from us.
Yeah, and that was kind of how things went for my whole, I guess, short term in the outdoor industry was, you know, you guys know how little the industry is as far as, you know, burning bridges and all that whole, you know.
Oh, it makes
so I
it
just
tough.
try to help out as many people as I could and try to keep a good reputation, I guess you would say.
So what was life like doing that, Mike? Were you on the road a lot? Were you, you know, was this constant filming, hunting every day?
Yeah,
deal?
I mean, it was about half and half. We traveled a lot, you know, during the hunting seasons. Spring and fall were obviously busy traveling, you know, filming the show, but then the off seasons were spent editing.
Yeah.
So when I was working up there, I produced most of the show, and I had a lot of help from Tom and Nick from BecomeOne. So I was on the phone with them every other day, you know, learning things, and those guys taught me a ton of stuff between editing and cameras, and so
you were actually building the television show then, right?
Yeah, I was doing basically the rough drafts and then sending it out to Nick, who would, you know, finalize it and fix all my mistakes.
So you kind of built the whole story then, right?
I guess I was kind of there whenever things got started.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that was cool.
I don't think we ever talked to anyone that ever, you know, was that in-depth in a television show, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a few folks, but Mike's
That's pretty
part
cool
of a few
stuff.
handful. Yeah.
So, Mike, I got a novice type question for you. I've never done any, you know, self-filming or any real filming with good equipment of anyone else. But I've been in a tree stand, and I get that sewing machine leg as soon as I see any kind of movement. Would it be better for somebody like me to maybe go ahead and invest in a camera arm instead of trying to freehand something like that? Because I can only imagine what that footage would look like if I was just up in that tree shaking like
I
that.
think that's why they invented that anti-shake
Is that what it
software.
is? That's where it came from?
Yeah.
Video
And
stabilization?
actually, that was probably one of my biggest challenges. It wasn't running the camera because I knew how to do that. It was trying to keep it together when you get a big buck coming in.
Yeah,
I don't really know how to tell you to get over that other than you have to have a lot of 120-inch bucks in front of you.
I guess I'll have to work on that part.
Yeah. Yep.
It's different for everybody. I'm blessed not having that, but when bass start popping in the water in the morning and the boat's not in the water yet,
Yeah. That's when you get a little bit of shaky leg on.
I can't even concentrate. Everything goes wrong. But so I totally get it.
For me, it would
Get that stuff in here. Come on. Let's go.
We don't even, with the boats on the trailer, we're fishing off the docks. We have no time to waste to get the boat in the water.
Yeah, the problem I would have is just exactly what Mike's describing,
Yeah.
trying to film it. And Mike, this would be a great opportunity for me to ask the question: do you feel more pressure as the cameraman or as the hunter?
Or the hunted.
Yeah.
Well, I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've had a cameraman filming me. So my experience was mostly as the cameraman. And so when we had the stress of putting out 13 episodes and, paying for airtime and the whole business of, having a TV show, it was definitely stressful on me. I was just as fired up and as nervous when all the deer were coming in that I'd filmed Jerry or Ron or other guys shoot. And so it was almost like I got to experience it, just as well as I would have if I was actually pulling the trigger. So
Yeah, I think that would be like a 50-50 relationship. If you're the cameraman and you don't get the shot, the hunter looks at you and said, "Did you get it? Did you get it?" And
yeah,
and then vice versa. If you're the cameraman and the hunter pulls and goes over his back, you're like, how in the heck did you miss that buck at 20 yards?
Yeah.
That could make or break an episode.
The camera was in focus. What'd you do?
Yeah.
You blew it.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and that doesn't. I wasn't even necessarily looking at in front of the camera or behind the camera type comparison, but even just being a hunter in the stand and the pressure that you put on yourself to, I got to make sure I get the shot right. I don't want to blow this, or all the other pressures that come with it. Versus now you're behind a camera in the tree with another guy, and on top of making sure that the camera's focused and that you hit the record button and all the other pressures of doing this for a career, now you're also in the stand with another person, and there's a real good chance you personally could blow his hunt.
Yeah.
Like that's the pressure really I think I was talking about. Like that to me seems overwhelming almost.
Yeah, and that was my problem at the beginning of it. I'll go back to Illinois again. We hunted for 4 days and all we shot at that point was a doe, and we were paying to be there and everything, and here comes this nice buck, and I'll admit it, I was the one that scared it away because I was so nervous trying to get the camera on it, and I was probably talking too loud and moving around too much in the tree, and the buck spooked. And I mean, there wasn't anything we could do about it. We laughed about it a couple days later, but I think if I wouldn't have my safety harness on, Jerry would have probably threw me out of the tree that night. So.
Well, it's got to be tough too, because the hunter's got to get the line of sight on the deer in order to make the shot, versus you're on a totally different angle with a camera trying to get the same line of sight on a different angle. And for the two people to work together, you have to know each other fairly well, I'm certain, to work together in a quiet capacity, to get that accomplished. And
that was one thing that Jerry and I did get better at after I filmed, so many hunts of his. We knew how he got set up and how I got set up and what worked for both of us, and that was a good, relationship we had between each other, and it definitely showed, because I filmed a few other people that I had not filmed before, and that was a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Probably the most different person that I filmed was when Dan Thurston from Drury Outdoors came up and hunted with us, and I went and filmed him. they weren't allowed to have camera arms. And so I had to freehand Dan shooting a doe that morning. And
Oh boy.
That makes it tough.
I was super nervous about it because I did not want to send some shaky footage to Drury's. but it actually ended up, I understand why they don't use camera arms. And I was able to, I would have never got his shot on camera if I had a camera arm, because of the way that the deer came in and I had to wrap around him. And I've actually got away from using camera arms and tripods a lot since I filmed Dan that day. So
Yeah, it's a cool experience.
There's a lot of stuff you can do in post-production that takes away the shakiness. And Drury's production in general, if you take notice to it, they do a lot of like fast-paced. They don't show too many clips for more than 5-10 seconds. So a lot of their footage is, probably shaky, but they're able to cut it together to make it look nice without tripods and such.
Is that a tougher way to edit it together? It seems like more work.
It sometimes is, but not all the time.
I think that probably allows for a lot more creativity, though. If you're doing a lot more quick cuts, you probably get a little more creative.
Yep, and with the way the cameras are now, they have the stabilization built into them and some different features that you can do in post-production that almost allows you to not even need to use a tripod in certain instances.
So with that being said, do you use camera arms at all now, or are you just pretty much taking your camera out and freehanding after that experience?
I'll still use a tripod in a ground blind. I film probably more turkey hunts than anything right now, but I'll use a tripod in there just because it's easy to sit it there, and I'm still solo filming a lot of those. So in those cases, you don't have a choice but to use a camera arm or a tripod. But if I was filming somebody in a tree, I would probably lean more towards not using a tripod or a camera arm. That has a lot to do with just the weight of packing one in too, honestly.
Right.
So, Mike, before we move out of this segment here of the show, from a cameraman standpoint, when you're filming a TV show, is the show more about the hunter or is it more about the game? How do you know where to switch your focal point?
I like that question.
Love that question.
Where'd that come from?
That kid's sick.
I've been
Who's that
sitting
guy?
on that for a while.
Like a mother goose.
Are you meaning?
He's an
are you
emperor penguin.
referring to game as the animal, or game as the hunt?
As the animal.
Okay. I had to basically know what story I wanted to tell from the beginning. So we did a lot of like pre-production type stuff where going into a hunt, we kind of had like a storyline that we wanted to happen. And obviously that very rarely was the case, but we always had, here's what we're doing. We want to try to make this work. As far as the filming I did with the Bearded Buck, that was more of a show about the whole group itself. And if anybody had watched the show, they'll see that, there's a lot of group camaraderie and along with the hunt,
Mm-hmm.
I can see a giant swing in social media and TV in general being more about the campfire and the club time and the camp time and the story of the traveling. And you didn't get that back in the day when you sat down and watched, Hank Parker. I would say Hank Parker, if anything, might have been the one who started some of that with his boys, more about like the family time and the building up and hunt, like taking kids fishing and being about family. And he was like, I think some of those shows might have been like like eating meals during the show. The hunting shows in general have made a better turn to tell more stories about.
Right. It's about the experience.
It's not always about this deer, this this antelope, whatever. And I really find them. I personally find them a lot more intriguing to watch that way, to get to know your hunter better. So the focal point itself, I think what Stevie's asking too. I think for me, watching it, like watching some of these stories is. Of course, it's about the hunt, but the majority of the show, lots of times, is about the journey to it. And I think that's such telling that story not only is cooler for us to watch as hunters, but to show that camaraderie and the story behind the compassion of taking an older man or maybe a disabled person hunting or whatever the case may be, helps with non-hunters that may be flipping through channels too, going, oh, look at that. This is a bloody mess of a show. It's, versus, oh, look at these guys taking these kids fishing.
It's a better representation of the lifestyle.
Thanks.
Of being outdoors.
I tried to say that in one sentence like Ryan did a while ago. But that's right. That's what I was trying to get. Perfect.
Yeah. Basically, what I tried to do when I put together an episode was I tried to watch it and ask myself from someone else's standpoint, if I could take the harvest out of that episode, would it still be interesting for people to watch?
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody wants to see, a big buck get shot or a turkey get shot, but that's what I tried to do was take the harvest out and it still be interesting for people to want to watch and then maybe watch again.
Yeah, and as the cameraman, the cinematographer, the director, that's your main focus. You want to have something watchable that people would want to turn back again next week and watch.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to be I just popped in there. I think a lot of people want to be the quarterback and not the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And the cameraman a lot of time is the unsung hero to tell those stories. And you have to be creative to tell those stories, because you're just looking at it through a lens. So to be able to tell a story through a lens is you got to be.
Absolutely.
He said before, you have to write the story in your head before you even film it. That's tough to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I derailed.
I kind of had to work backwards with it all because once I started editing, that taught me way more about filming than anything camera related could really teach me. I mean, I didn't learn about putting a story together and all that until you actually hand somebody an SD card and say, here, edit this.
Go make a show.
So as I did more editing, that taught me a lot more about filming. So I get asked a lot which camera class I would take if I was just starting out. And I always told everybody, take the basic camera knowledge and then take the editing classes. Because with basic camera knowledge and then the knowledge of editing, that would teach you more about it than if you would just run through all the advanced filming and, the techniques and stuff like that. I think a lot of people don't realize what all they need when they're filming as far as the pre-roll and post-roll and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. You know what? I was just, as you're saying all this stuff too, something else, kind of popped in my head.
What's that, bud?
Is, we had Lunkerville come last summer.
Yeah.
And Mike D didn't want to know, another Mike, didn't want to know anything about Catfish. Let's do it on camera. Let's figure it out.
We took him to dinner and he didn't want to talk to us.
Yeah, he's like, he would ask questions. So where do you work? Don't tell me. Do you have any dogs? Don't tell me.
He liked everything to be spontaneous.
Yeah, it was fun. But
yeah,
your standpoint was actually completely opposite. You know the whole story and you got to tell it. it was completely different techniques, and I'm just kind of wrapping my mind around things I've seen and done.
Here's the thing: it's a lot of work. I don't think people realize how much work it is to be the cameraman. It's already a lot of work to be a proficient hunter, to go from the basics of washing your clothes and scent control and all the things we do as a hunter, and then to go with that guy with camera gear, making sure batteries are charged, lenses are clean, not getting cameras out of weather. It's too much stress to have expensive equipment out and go, is everything right to tell this story? Because you can have malfunctions and breakdowns and have backup stuff. Mm-hmm. Has that ever happened to you, Mike, where you've been like, oh, crap, like we're in the thick of it and I'm having technical issues?
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't deal with that stress. I'd be like, time out. The hunt's over. I need to go back to the camp to get more batteries. It just doesn't work.
We had a good prime example of that. It was a rifle hunt, and things were dead. We were seeing a little bit of action, a couple does here and there, and I wanted to switch lenses.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to let the camera go down in case something happens, spur of the moment, and I actually decided, all right, I'm going to switch to my other lens, and halfway through it, a buck came out, and it didn't just walk out and start feeding. It came flying out, chasing a doe, and there was just a ton of footage that I missed, and I ended up getting good enough footage. But yeah, it was definitely stressful. I had Jerry beside me, and he was hurrying me to get the footage because it was neat. There was a nice buck that he ended up shooting, chasing a doe all through the cornfield and through the food plot, and it was stuff that a lot of guys don't get to see, and I had a camera there that wasn't worth anything at that point.
Right.
So yeah.
No. Yeah,
that's happened a few times.
We use a 500 millimeter lens to film Stevie's fish to make them look bigger.
Yeah, I had that similar experience. I'm out with a fellow member of the NWTF and on a mentored hunt, and this is this member's nephew, and I have a camera, and we're out in the field in the evening, and a doe comes out, and this is, mind you, this is his second deer hunt, an opportunity to kill his first deer. I had the video camera. I double punched the record and missed the shot. I mean, he made a perfect shot. The deer went in 20 yards and fell over, and I was beside myself. I'm like, congratulations, you shot your first deer, and I looked, and I see no red record on this camera, and it was terrible. So to some level, I can kind of sympathize with you, some of the experiences that you've gone through with that.
Yeah. No, it does. It's I don't have all. We have a lot. We have cameras, and Will and I have dabbled in it and had fun with it. And Will's done 1,000 times more than I have. There's filmed with Mike
5 times.
I'm like the intermediate, semi-professional, master, novice, beginner, know nothing of cameras.
Hypothetically, he doesn't know anything about filming hunts.
I keep my GoPro in my back pocket while I'm fishing to literally take selfies. Just here's another bass. But I did do. I had a little piece of some of your life. I filmed a hunt. The Chris Wheeling wheelchair hunt for my father. Yeah. It's a handicap hunt in Lake Racetown Resort, Huntington, Pennsylvania. And I actually had a big honor this year. They had a giant meeting with the NWTF, and they called me and asked me if they could use that video in their meetings. And I went, what? That was just a video for me and Dad to remember his hunt. And they went, oh, it made some of us cry to watch your amputee father shoot that doe in that track chair, and you did really good with the camera angles and stuff. And I went, well, some of those I literally just was holding it in my hand walking, so thank you. But it wasn't the angles. But it made me, like, for the first time ever, I felt like, wow, being a cameraman and having somebody watch something that you did and appreciate it, there's a they're almost like getting a deer or catching a big fish. There's a high when it comes to somebody watching something that you've done and put together and edit and go, wow, they like that. You know, like that.
Yeah.
So I could get addicted to it really quickly. If I had the opportunity to just sit and film and put the rod down and put the rifle down, put the bow down, I can't get, there's some guys that can't get past that, and I'm not there yet. So it takes a special guy to be a cameraman.
But you're there when we're fishing. I see it. So it happens.
Yeah.
You're there, buddy.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, if we can get a glimpse into, a time where you put the cameras down.
Maybe recently.
Maybe like this week.
Well, before that, I want to back up. I got to give a quick plug to Tom and Nick from BecomeOne. If anybody has any interest in starting filming or anything, they got to check those guys out, because I wouldn't know a third of what I do now without any of the classes I took for those guys. So definitely check their website out if you have any interest in learning how to film. So
Right. And if you didn't hear, they're the guys that were from Campbell's Camera. They started.
we know what you meant.
They could go back and listen to the episode we had with them. So we had both Tom and Nick on an episode.
Yep, we had them on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, and they've been teaching for a long time. So it's a great
Good-
way,
good
great
guys.
resource.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't want to make it sound like I just taught myself all this. Those guys have a lot to do with everything I know now. So
Sure. Except for this week.
yeah, they didn't help me any this week. So
yeah, what happened this week? Take us through it.
all right. Well, before I get to that, I got to back you up a couple years. I've been
like 2,
like 11
wow,
or something like that, maybe 2011. 2011 was the last year that I killed a buck in Pennsylvania, or in any of the other states for that matter. Yeah, so I had a little bit of a dry spell there, and had to watch my dad and my little brother and my friends all get these nice bucks and ask me to take pictures of them, and, So,
hey, everybody's got to be good at something, Mike.
Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but this year actually ended up a little bit different. So Monday was kind of a crappy day. Anybody that
Yes, it was.
out, they know the same thing. So I did happen to rig up a little bit of a roof for my tree stand, but it wasn't the greatest. The wind was blowing so much that the rain was hitting me from the sides more than the top. So
it's like Forrest Gump.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes the rain seemed to come from straight up.
Yeah. So we were probably 200 or 300 yards apart. Dad was below me on the mountain, and probably about 7:30, I hear guns start going off, and my dad calls me and says, "Hey, I got one." I said, "Oh, that's cool." He sent me a picture of it. He got a nice 8-point right at daylight. So it's probably 10 o'clock or so, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, and at this point I had already got the news that 2 of the nice bucks that I was after this year were already dead. So
natural causes.
Bought the farm.
It's been 11 years, so they could have died of old age.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was scrolling through Facebook and whatnot and seeing everybody shooting deer. And I actually texted my buddy and said, "I'm done with rifle season already. Is it late season yet? I want to get my flintlock out." So I was already writing that off at about 10 o'clock on the first morning. So if you can't tell, I don't have very much patience.
Yeah.
So I just decided to climb down out and get some lunch. So I headed down to where my dad was at, and about a half an hour later, some does came up, and again, I don't have the patience to wait for a buck, so I ended up shooting a doe. And
are you back to liking rifle season at this point, or are you still?
It sounded like a pretty good morning.
Yeah,
it's just okay.
yeah,
But-
so far.
But here's
Yeah,
the thing. Here's the thing that you're saying, though. If you're hunting public land and rifle season in Pennsylvania, sometimes 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the magic hours.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
People are
My dad's always tried to tell me that, to just pack a lunch and
I don't believe it.
everything. So
well, that's when guys are packing it up and going to lunch and moving around.
or they'll just get up because they're cold, they're tired. You know, they walk around a little bit. Or people who maybe they only can hunt in the morning, or they can only hunt in the afternoon. They're just coming in or just leaving. So
anything can happen.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I was.
So you're back to you, Mike. You're loving rifle season now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's stay longer.
Yeah. So we decided to just hang out, and we weren't too awful far from the truck, and it was cold enough that we were okay with letting the deer there in the truck until we got out of there. So I feel like this happens to a lot of kids or people in general, but my dad says, big buck. And he's done that to me about 50 times when there was no deer. And, because we weren't exactly being stealthy. We're in a box blind on the ground, and just standing up. I'm drinking my chocolate milk, and, we're just
like a big
having
kid.
a good time, Yeah.
No straw or nothing.
Yeah. My sippy cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't want to spill anything.
At that point, our day was already good. I got a doe. Dad shot a buck. We'd never shot a deer out of the same stand yet. So it was a cool day if we would have went home right then. But so he yells, big buck. He says, right by the power line pole. And I still couldn't see it. So I pulled my scope up, and sure enough, for whatever reason, is a 10-point standing broadside in the middle of this open power line, looking up away from us. So
perfect.
I
don't know what he was thinking, but
he wasn't, evidently.
Yeah.
He read the script.
So it took me about half a second to get my gun on him and shoot, and I don't really remember what happened then. At that point, it's all sort of a blur.
Yeah.
But I had seen the deer kind of buckle and run off. We decided to give it a couple minutes, and then we got out, and it was pretty open woods where we were at, and he had ran into like a little ditch, and we didn't see him come out the other side, so we thought there was a good chance he might have been laying right in there. So we walked over, and sure enough, he was laying right in the middle of the ditch there. He had only went 30 yards from where he was standing on the power line. So
congratulations.
Yeah, good job. How far was the shot, Mike?
It was probably 120 yards, something like that.
That's a good shot.
As the crow flies?
Yes. As the bullet flies.
Gotcha.
And all I can remember is we walked up over the hill, and I seen him laying there, and not only was it the biggest buck of my life, but I told you guys I hadn't shot one since 2011.
So you were due.
And I just remember screaming as loud as I could. I'm surprised you guys didn't hear him the whole way down where you're at.
I did. That's why you're on the podcast.
At that point, I figured my dad got a deer and I got one. I didn't really care, honestly, who else heard me yell that day. So I might have had a few mad hunters around me, but so yeah, that was a pretty good one. So it ended up being a 10-point, and had a broken tine, but other than that, he was
Who's counting?
He was a pretty nice buck. Yeah.
And how
Yeah,
far
I wouldn't
apart?
have cared if it was a 6 point, but
These were what, like half an hour apart or something like that? Or an hour and a half apart?
From the time I shot the doe?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably an hour. Long enough pretty much for me to get the doe out of there and get back in the stand. And we were just in a spot that they naturally funnel to when people are out moving around, and I think that's probably what happened. So
That's a pretty good day. I like that.
Very cool.
So your leg did a lot of shaking on Monday.
Yeah.
Huh?
I really didn't have that much time to shake whenever we saw him, because from the time Dad said big buck till he was dead was about 10 seconds. So
wow.
But it was the same tree stand that my dad had shot his in the morning, and so that was the first time that we had both killed bucks on the same day, and then we had both killed them from the same tree stand. So that was pretty cool.
So you have lots of processing to do then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm sure you don't mind.
That's
it's
what we're
worth
slowing down right now. We're cutting into that meat time.
Yeah. No, it's all right.
So you're at camp now?
Just at my house.
Yeah.
We just hunt locally here.
That's cool.
My cousin, he had shot a buck not too long after my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So
from the same stand?
No, not the same stand, but he was only about 500 yards away from us.
Wow.
Did he have chocolate milk?
I think he had the strawberry stuff. Oh, what he likes, yeah.
So it's
he's
the
into the
flavored
strawberry milk. Yeah. That was actually on my Pop Miller's birthday, which is he would have been 83 today.
Like 8-3 media.
Well, no, not quite. That's kind of ironic that worked, but no, he died on August 3rd, so that's where I came up with 8-3 media from. So
I did not know that. Very cool.
Yep. So my cousin and I and my dad all got to shoot a deer on Pap's birthday. So
are you kidding me?
That's
pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Are you trying to make me cry?
I'm trying not to.
Well, I don't want to jump the story ahead too far, but you guys had a pretty big Wednesday too.
This whole summer, we were pretty much covered up in bears this year. I have more bear pictures than I do buck pictures from all my trail cameras. We ran about 15 cameras this summer, and I think about 2 of them don't have teeth marks in them right now from the bears.
Wow.
So we had a lot of sleet and freezing rain last year for bear season, so the harvest was way down. So that definitely showed this year. And we started hunting a few private farms that were loaded with standing corn this year, and they actually had it standing throughout bear season. I don't know how many pictures, but I would say probably 200 pictures of bears this summer, and probably about 150 or more of them were all during the daylight. So we almost just forgot about buck hunting this year, and we put a lot of time into trying to kill a bear this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had one climb up my tree stand and
don't tell me why you were in it.
No, luckily. I had just hung a new stand, and it was a ladder stand, and I had added some carpet to the footrest on it to keep it a little bit quiet.
Class it up a little.
Yeah. And the morning I got to the stand, I had the carpet on my floor ripped off and ripped up and thrown all down through the woods.
No way.
And,
Man, that must have been a big flying squirrel.
Yeah. And
don't tell some of the other guys. They get jammed up over the squirrels like that.
So yeah, I had a little bit of a problem with bears this year.
Sounds
I
like
had bought some new cameras and and they aren't due anymore because the bears just keep knocking them down left and right. So,
Do they know their cameras, or are they just whatever they're seeing, they're
They
swatting at
get
it?
like I think a lot of them get
set.
jammed up by the flash, and then they also
yeah. And
any kind
a
of
lot of what we were dealing with
he's
was
drinking chocolate milk constantly.
Oh, fair enough.
It's all over his hands. He
I
spills
got
at the
you.
base of the tree.
they love the chocolate milk. Yeah. My dad's been hunting bears in Pennsylvania for pretty much as long as he's been hunting, 20 or 30 years or so. And he's had multiple encounters with them. He's been on a bunch of drives where they've went through them, or he's shot at them and not got them, or so he's been chasing a bear in Pennsylvania for a long time.
He's put his time in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday I decided to sleep in because I wasn't feeling very well. And he calls me and it sounded like he just ran a marathon. He said, I just hit that big bear. I just hit that big bear. And so I just kind of woke up pretty quick then and headed to where he was. And it was at one of the spots that we've been getting pictures of him. And I don't know how windy it was where you guys are, but it was
Pretty
crazy
windy.
windy
Yeah,
here
it was rough.
yesterday. So he just happened to walk into this bear, was laying down, and it got up and started to head out of there, and he had got a shot off on it, and that's at that point's when he called me. So we went out and looked around a little bit, and we got a little bit of snow yesterday, so we were able to see his tracks and the blood that was in them.
Yeah.
We decided to back out and went to breakfast and gave him a little bit of time. And lucky we did, because when we came back about 2.5 hours later, we got back to that bed and we only went about another 20 yards. And my dad dropped to the ground and saw the bear through the scope. I don't know whether we yelled louder then or louder when I shot my buck, but it was probably pretty even. But so that was my dad's first Pennsylvania bear. It ended up weighing 238. It was a male, so
Nice.
that was a pretty cool ending to our week.
What a week.
That's a good couple days,
What
that's
a
for
week.
sure.
Yeah. What, 3 days? Yeah.
So Dad
Really?
killed a buck. He killed a bear. Was he able to harvest a turkey during the spring?
Yes, he killed 2 gobblers last spring,
Good
and he
one.
killed a
Awesome. Pennsylvania
jake
Big
in the
Three.
fall this year.
You're making Pennsylvania sexy again, getting those. Yeah,
Yep. So yeah, that was his first triple trophy. He was
that's awesome.
pretty excited about that. So it was pretty cool. Even though I slept in, I was able to at least be there whenever he found it. So
If you catch a muskie, they call that the Pennsylvania Grand Slam.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm not big on the fishing part, so I'm gonna need somebody to help me on that. So
We know a guy.
All you gotta do
it's not Stevie.
is bass fish.
Yeah. I've seen more wildlife bass fishing than I have looking for it.
yeah, I did probably more fishing this year than I did in my whole life. So I'm starting to get back into it, but
It always impresses me, too, the pictures that I see and the stories that I hear of how much teamwork it takes in Pennsylvania to get these bears out of the places where they finally
Oh, I know.
come to rest.
yeah,
It's sometimes not such an easy task. I've seen pictures of like 15 guys with almost like a gurney stretcher trying
Wow.
to. You remember the old teepee drag that they used to use when they used to drag the teepees to a different location? It's like a triangle that they drag. They use some of those types of things. So.
yeah. We ended up calling a couple of our buddies, and I feel like this happens a lot with bears. But when we first got up to it, we would have probably bet money that it was 350, 400 pounds. And it surely felt like it when we were dragging it too.
I bet.
But yeah, it ended up being
That's a dude, man. That's like I always say. That's a dude. You're dragging it.
Probably doesn't have much experience dragging dudes, but if you did, that's what it would feel
If you were a fireman, you would get.
Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't
Not
say
sure
what he
where
does
you're going
now.
with that one. Yeah, but yeah, and we ended up getting a few guys to help us, and we got it out of there pretty easy. It was about a 150-yard drag, but so
not fond of dragging this week, Mikey. So I want to tell everybody more about so they got an upcoming event. They have a hunt. They're looking for somebody out there that knows what they're doing, that they can trust. You know, the word of mouth from us that you don't need anybody else. How do they get a hold of you? How can they find you? Or just people that want to follow some of your work and be inspired. Maybe they're an up-and-comer cameraman.
I have Facebook and Instagram. It's under 83 Media. And I do a lot on my personal page as well. I probably post more on there. So if you want to look up Mike Miller, that's fine.
What is it that would Mike Miller want to go do if money and time was no object?
I never did get to actually hunt with my pap Miller. Yeah. So I think if I had to do anything, that would probably be one thing. But
that's a great answer.
Cool.
Yeah, it is.
So, but yeah, that would probably be my top one. But
I thought you were going to say javelina hunt, but
my second one would definitely be something with Kyle. So.
Well,
I like that.
We'll bring a canyon because there's not many shooting lanes.
Yeah, bring your own trimmers.
I did see that. I was a little puzzled by that.
I did say cannon, didn't I? I didn't mean the camera. I mean like a 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
bring a trimmer. Bring a larger gun chainsaw.
Well, Mike, congratulations on an awesome week. We saw the pictures, and we shuffled the schedule around here to get you on. So thanks for interrupting your week and spending some time with us to talk about it. It was great. It's great to hear someone having such an awesome week and the memories that you made and all that. It's had a lot of special meaning to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been one of our better seasons. So we still got a few more hunts for the rest of the year, but it's looking like we're going to get rained on again Saturday.
What's new?
Yeah.
Yep.
I still have confidence in the bears. I'm still getting them on camera, even though we got one out of the population, but there's plenty more out there. So I don't know what I would do if I ended up getting a bear this year, but
eat a honey bun.
Eat a honey bun. There you go.
Drink a chocolate milk bud.
I might have to do that.
We appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much for being on here with us, bud.
All righty. I'll talk to you later, guys.
Thanks,
Good luck the rest of the season.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Stevie.
Yes, sir.
Well, where can they find us?
Hop on over to RuttenRiverPursuits.com. Always find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitters. Search for Rutten River Pursuits. Check out our YouTubes.
On the YouTubes.
Rutten River Pursuits podcast. And we released a pretty cool jerky code this week, right, Will?
Yeah.
This is like holidays only. So
get them while they last.
Yeah, you got to use coupon code
RUTMAS. RUTMAS 30.
Really?
30% off the entire website. Don't be stupid.
MFjerky.com. I don't know how they're staying in business with this code going.
We're going to order something that's going to be back ordered.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just go now.
I'm going to stock up for next hunting season now.
And the coffee.
I'm
it's crazy.
Full on addicted. I got 2 pounds of the ground because we started doing the French press.
Oh, man.
And then we had the latte machine, and
Oh, here we go. Rub that in.
I got to go
them in.
I got to go talk to Dakota. We have to get...
You sound like an episode of QVC or something like
down the road, we got to get the
Camera.
R2 coffee blend, I guess.
Oh.
I mean...
Or the R2 jerky. We'll make like honey sriracha jerky.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't eat that.
Oh, it's great. Have you not had the honey sriracha combos?
Nah. Is that it?
Wake up.
Yeah.
Well, if it existed...
It would be a
could get it
coffee
for
bag with a
30%
couple
off.
pieces of jerky in it. You just dump in your hot water, right?
It's amazing.
Ooh,
Honey sriracha jerky water.
coffee.
Yeah, you want to wake up right. Yeah, it gets you going.
mfjerky.com, Rutmus30, 30% off.
Get it. Oh, I like that. That was good.
Pickerowski. Pickerowski. Where can they find you? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was awesome. I'm honored to have you invite me here to sit at the Casa de Madera this evening.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at PickDiesel, P-I-K Diesel, one word.
Awesome. Hey, you know what else?
That's
Brian?
where we found him.
That's it is, isn't it? Brian, where can people download the podcast?
They could download the podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Spotify.
If we had to pick one, we'd say Spotify.
Spotify.
That's my favorite.
Spotify.
Did I tell you guys that?
Yeah.
You mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah.
I checked that out this week. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. It's
Yeah.
so easy. It's like a flipper, point, click. You're
Well, this has been the longest
sharp.
closing segment of the show, that's for sure. So,
We're still fine tuning it, bud. Give us a break.
Wander now. Land this plane. Huh?
all right, guys, thank you.
See ya.
Later.
Bring him with us.
From today, he's from 83 Media, right?
8.
No, it's 83.
It's 306, bud.
Mike, was it 83 or 83?
8-3.
Oh, man.
Start over.
Well, I done screwed the pooch there.
So my cousin and I and my dad all got to shoot a deer on Pap's birthday. So
Are you kidding me?
That's
pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're-
Wow.
Are you trying to make me cry?
I'm trying not to.
I'm like the intermediate, semi-professional, master, novice, beginner, know nothing of cameras.
Hypothetically, he doesn't know anything about
Yeah.
filming hunts.
I keep my GoPro in my back pocket while I'm fishing to literally take selfies.
No, I'm Jim.
I'm Willie.
Willie.
I'm Willie.
Wish I had a fox in here. You don't have any foxes, do you?
Nothing in the way.
I could have brought a gray fox.
Could you?
All right, Mike. I hope you have something to talk about.
We got an hour to kill.
An hour.
Yep.
Sheesh. Oh, I don't know if my story takes that long.
You can do it.
All right. Well, as soon as you're done, we'll be done.
All right, that wraps it up. It's been a great 5 minutes.
Nobody's going to have to say we're bumping up on time.
Yeah.
You know.